Hey guys, Marsinger here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. So earlier today we got the data download on both versions of the game for the Hero Celebration stuff, so we know everything that is coming in the celebration. We also did get the details for the EZAs. All of this stuff dropped at like 2 or 3 a.m. UK time. I wasn't assuming it was going to come out then. I thought we were going to see it the same kind of time we saw the normal unit details, so I did miss it. So some of you will have probably seen some of that stuff already. So rather than like a breaking news thing, this is just a breaking down everything that we know from the celebration, from the data download. And we will go through the EZA details very briefly at the end as well. So shout out to Proton, as always, for summarizing all of this info in a handy pinned thread over here on his Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow. Every time there's a data download, he always does this, so you can see exactly what is going to be coming up in the latest release. So we get a promo movie. Obviously, this will be the first login thing. Just shows a few clips here from the Super Attack animations. There's our boy Vegito, sadly not voiced active skill or intro on Global. Bit of a shame. I did mention it in yesterday's video. I've seen a bunch of people commenting about how, you know, it sucks that Global, for whatever reason, like hasn't got it, as if it's some fault of the Global team, which obviously, as I said yesterday, is some sort of weird licensing issue. I really don't understand why. It's like you can have the cards, you can have the characters, you can have the animations, but you can't have the voice, because it's just like Hearts last year. Even if they're not going to do an English voice, the global version has the Japanese voices in it. So why can't we just have the Japanese voice one? It's very strange, but it is what it is. So the new cards, these will come out at 6 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning for me. So I will be live. The stream will go live at about 5:30, and we will be summoning as soon as the banner drops. We actually get to see, I think this is the first time with the data download, we got to see a bunch of the SSR arts. So Rosé's one in particular is pretty cool. I do quite like that. So we're going to be seeing a lot of these. The SSR art for the blue controlled Vegeta is actually really cool as well. So some of these guys have some good arts. We got the Toa stuff, so we have the details for what she does as well. And then that's the Tech Xeno Trunks that's getting his Super Strike Awakening finally. Sadly, no info in the data though for the other Xeno Trunkses or those Xenoverse like Mira, Toa and Demigra or Dabura. So they've just forgotten about them again for another year apparently, because now would be the perfect time to EZA them, but it is what it is. So yeah, Super Strike event renewal gets the extra stages so you can get the medals and everything. Then we have the special event, Universe Creation Saga. 2 stages. Obviously one will be the stage where you farm the copies of the free-to-play Toa, and then the second one will be to farm the medals to awaken her. I think, from when we checked it yesterday, all of the new units awaken with the Dokkan event medals. I'm pretty sure when we looked, right, they all have Fierce Battle, so that's pretty good. So these medals will only be to awaken Toa. I mean, she won't EZA until next year, but you can always farm that second SA5 copy ready to go, but I suppose there's not much point doing it until next year's celebration, because the free-to-play units now, with Lags getting her EZA this year, in fact, actually, have I even seen that be confirmed? Yeah, no, we saw a new stage coming to the Extreme Z area, was in the news, wasn't it? So, special event, request from the hero, Charismatic Hero, Super Dragon Ball Heroes. I haven't actually seen what this is. So this is a type-specific one. Interesting. Crossover and Heroes stages. I haven't actually seen any information about what this event actually is. That's quite interesting. Then we have the Dokkan event for Vegito, Super Saiyan 4 Vegito Limit Breaker. Now this one does have a bunch of missions. I don't think it's shown in here, but the thing that JP has been doing recently that we got during the Worldwide, which hopefully is going to be a thing continuing now with every Dokkan Fest release, even though obviously Vegito's not a Dokkan Fest, right, but it gets a Dokkan event, where there are missions to beat this event with specific teams or specific team builds. I think one of them is for like 1 unit of every type. One of them is for beating it in 5 turns, that give you extra medals. So it just reduces the number of runs you have to do overall. Because again, I think all the new units awaken with these medals, which means you'd have to do like, what is this, like 11 runs for the main unit, and then everybody else. Actually, does Rosé use 77 as well? Either way, it would be a lot of runs. So fortunately, there are missions for you to get extra ones. Yeah, here we go, the Extreme Z area. So this is the update so that lags can get her EZA, and there are the medals there. Then we have the Red Zone Super Dragon Ball Heroes Edition. Now, the good thing is, as we predicted, this is the same event returning, and they are adding 3 stages to it. So what that means is, once the Hero Celebration goes away, this event should be accessible with coins, because it has actually returned to the game at least once, which is how the Pool of Memories thing works. So Stage 4 is versus Lags, Stage 5 is versus Golden Metal Cooler, and Stage 6 is versus Hearts. Then we have the Burst Mode. So we can get the Full Power Showdown OST, is the album, sorry. Super Hearts' theme, and Super Dragon Ball Heroes Big Bang Mission theme song. Now, I did see a thing someone had posted when, apparently in the translations for the V-Jump scan, it said that these would be temporary. So I don't know if that's like the anniversary ones, where you could unlock those anniversary OSTs and they cost a lot less burst mode coins, but then you lost them all at the end of the anniversary and they were replaced by that weird like medley remix thing. So I don't know if that's going to be similar here. It doesn't say anything in the data here about an end date, but then we have the Dragon Ball Heroes EZA. Obviously this is the event to get the medals to do the EZAs for the 8 units that we know of that were shown confirmed in the V-Jump. The weakness is Dragon Ball Heroes, so obviously pretty straightforward for this one. And then there's just all the assets for them, all the medals as well. And then there you go, that was everything contained in the data download itself. So all of the events, I actually because this is my first time looking through this thread from Proton of all the data compiled here. Someone will have to let me know in the comments, and I'll pin it so that everyone can see what this event is, because if it's type specific, I wonder if this is one of those, like, is it like a punching bag type thing or something? I'm actually genuinely not sure what this event is, so let me know in the comments, and the first one I see, obviously I'll fact check it first of course, but the first one I see I will pin it so that everyone can have a better idea. So that's everything that was in the data download. Now I'm going to jump over to Minato posted a thread of all the translations, so shout out to him. These are the EZA units. I believe, did he do Toa on here as well? There isn't a Toa one on here. I'll have to find that separately. But so Super Saiyan 4 Vegito got greatly raises defense for 1 turn on Super, which actually, did he have that already? Raising defense on Super for him. Attack and defense 180. Additional attack and defense 60 when performing a Super. Crossover allies, key 1, attack and defense 30, and giant 8 power is now 30 as well. So those were both 20 before, which means he's giving crossover giant 8 power allies 60% support, which is really good. Then he has damage reduction, okay, 5% per giant 8 power or crossover ally on the team, whichever category has more will be counted. Ooh, so just like the Limit Breaker for Geo, they've basically made it so that he will be runnable on like a full Super Saiyan 4 build. Because yeah, 5% damage reduction per ally on the team, and the way that's worded, it would include him as well, so he's always going to have 5% damage reduction, which of course isn't a lot, but by adding in those other allies, that's going to add up quite significantly. And then his chance to counter Super is still high. I expected that, to be honest, right? I didn't think they were going to give him the 70% chance. So yeah, he seems pretty solid. Start of turn, his defense isn't going to be the craziest as usual. But hopefully that damage reduction, like if you're running a full crossover team, that's 7 units, right? So he's going to have 35% damage reduction. That's not bad. I mean, if he doesn't counter a super, he'd probably still get killed. But the fact that he has the super counter is like a good combination of kit, right? Having 35% damage reduction, chance to counter the super. If it's post him super attacking, he would potentially survive a super depending on the typing of the enemy as well anyway. So that's interesting. Then we have Tech Super Saiyan 4 Broly. This is the one I was one of the most worried about because he needed so much work in his kit for him to be good, right? He had no super attack effect. So now he gets greatly raises attack and raise defense for 1 turn. So that's good. Immense damage greatly lowers defense. The attack and defense raise are both for 1 turn. Yeah, it's not greatly raises attack stacking and then raise defense for 1 turn. It's just they both raise a different amount. So he's raising attack by 50% and defense for 30. Only within that turn, but obviously if he gets multiple supers, it does go off multiple times. Attack and defense 150 when performing a super. Key 2 launches an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super when there's another giant 8 power ally in the same turn. So that's the same thing he had before. Then he has a guaranteed additional super if all allies attacking in the same turn belong to the giant 8 power category. Attack and defense 30% up to 150 with each super attack performed. So it kind of seems like the limit breaker Broly, right? Where like on turn 1, he's not going to be that great. It's interesting that they've made these Super Saiyan 4s so reliant on giant 8 power as opposed to like just heroes or crossover. Because this Broly, you know, Broly ideally we would want him to be good with just other extreme units in general. But obviously now he kind of needs to be on a full Super Saiyan 4 rotation because then he gets that guaranteed additional super. He has to super, what, 5 times to fully build up his passive for that 150. And then, of course, he's raising his stats. So, I mean, on a full Super Saiyan 4 turn, he's going to look pretty good. He's a unit that you could throw on, like, the double Vegito leads team and just have as a floater, potentially. And he's going to be doing a lot of damage in slot 3 whilst also getting to a decent amount of defense. But he still gets all of his stats on super, apart from the build-up he gets, like, with each attack performed, which means turn 1 against, like, an AoE boss, he's not going to be particularly good. But I could see him doing a lot of damage, so that's cool. Demon Goddess Toa. So this is one of the ones that I think most people were looking forward to. She has a lot of potential for being run on any extreme team if she's actually good. So she raises attack for 1 turn, it does immense damage to the enemy, lowers attack and seals super. Wow, so they didn't give her defense on super. Okay. Attack and defense 180. All allies key 3, attack and defense 40. High chance of the additional 10% for both attack and defense as 2 separate procs. I believe it was 30 for her main support before, right? So now with the RNG, she's giving a potential 50% support. High chance to dodge when HP is 50% or above. I mean, high chance to dodge is good, but being HP restricted is kind of unfortunate, because if you're on low HP, that's when you want the dodge, because the way that's going to work, she's still going to heal, right? Yeah, extreme class allies attack and defense 60% and recovers 50% HP when HP is 50% or less. What that means is at the start of the turn, if your HP is 50% or less, she's going to give you the 50% heal, but that first part of her passive is then not going to be active because at the start of the turn, you weren't at 50% or above, so she's not going to have that dodge chance. And then she does get an additional attack and defense 40 up to 120 each time this character evades an attack. Okay, so once she gets 3 dodges, she has an extra 120% defense. So, I mean, she's clearly, like, as a floating support unit, right, like, she's a full dodge build character, for sure. But, yeah, I mean, she could be interesting. I mean, it's going to be a case of, again, using the example of, like, Fusion Zamasu. Turn 1, you're going to want her to dodge that AoE, like, and then, obviously, she gets her attack off, and then, ideally, dodges follow-up attacks. I wonder what her defense will be like on a normal rotation, like, after a dodge, because she doesn't get any defense on super. But she definitely could be good. So Demon God Demigra. He's put Demigra, but this is Dabura. I had very little hope for this guy, so let's see. Greatly raises defense for 1 turn. Does immense damage with a high chance to stun. So the greatly raised defense, I think he did have raised defense before. Key 3, attack and defense 150. Additional attack and defense 150. Performs an additional attack which has a high chance to become a super. And attacked enemies attack and defense minus 35% for 2 turns when facing only 1 enemy. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, the funny thing is, because he's AGL, that'd make him good against that Vegito Blue stage, but I would imagine, like, most people have done that already, right? It's not like an event people really replay very much. Attack 150 when target enemy is in attack down status, which, I mean, is good for when you can do that, but additional attack 100, defense 200, and high chance to dodge. Attack 50 and reduces damage received by 10% for each enemy from the 3rd enemy onwards when facing 2 or more enemies. That's weird. So a bunch of the heroes units have gotten these multiple enemy things, but like the 3rd enemy onward, that's only going to be relevant in a few Super Battle Road stages and then the World Tournament, which, I mean, having damage reduction in the World Tournament is kind of pointless because ideally you don't want to get hit and you're just using AoE units anyway, so that's a very weird design for him. I mean, looking at his solo enemy performance, like if you actually were going to use him against red zone bosses, I guess you could use him in any stages of difficult content where there's like an STR boss. So he's going to be having a relatively high defense number, like it's 300% in total. He's greatly raising on super with a high chance to do an additional super. And then, of course, hidden potential means he could get 3 supers in 1 turn. Like, he could be okay for taking normals and stuff, I guess, but even against, like, if a new boss comes out that's at even the same level, let alone higher than the Fusion Zamasu, and he is, even if he's STR, like, this Dabura's not going to be tanking a super attack from him, right? So the fact that he gets his dodge chance on multiple enemies only is pretty unfortunate. But yeah, I accidentally pressed whatever key I pressed to close that, but there you go. So Demigra, why did he put Demigra? Dabura doesn't seem that good, but that was kind of expected, to be honest. So then we have the physical demon Demigra. This guy I did have high hopes for because he's on Zamasu's 200% leader skill. With Rose needing crossover allies on the team, we really want good crossover units to use on Zamasu's team. So he's greatly raising attack and defense on super, so that's good. Attack and defense 140, additional attack and defense 70 when performing a super. Extreme class allies key 4 and defense 40%, that's good. Passively lowering enemies attack and defense, I mean, it's good for when you can do that. Then he gets an additional 20% attack per crossover ally on the team. And then, oh, see, 10% defense per extreme ally on the team. So, yeah, he's... whilst I'm not going to say, like, oh, yeah, look, he's awesome. They absolutely cooked. Because I need to see the numbers, right? But he's going to be a support unit primarily. So him getting attack per crossover ally is not that important. But the defense per extreme class ally, that means if you are running him on Zamasu's team and you're running a full extreme build, that's an extra 70% defense because it's obviously includes him as well. If all the units on the team and the friend Zamasu, that's 7 extreme units. So that's pretty good. Again, he's a unit that with no other real defensive tech outside of raw numbers, like, you know, AoEs could be a problem. But after he's attacked, like, greatly raising defense on super and the 70% buff on super is pretty good. So hopefully he will be a good addition to Zamasu's team. Super Mirror, greatly raises defense. Yep, greatly raises attack for 1 turn. Okay. Attack 200, defense 100, disables enemy's guard, additional attack and defense 50 when performing a super. If all allies in the same turn are heroes allies, 2 key and performs an additional super. Well, that's good. He is a stacker, right? And he greatly raises, so giving him a way to do an additional super is good. It does mean he's basically locked to a full heroes team, but guaranteed additional super is definitely very good for a stacker. Attacked enemies attack and defense minus 30%, that is what it is. Additional attack 100 and great chance to perform a crit when the enemy is in attack or defense down. Unfortunately, this last part is just useless against the toughest fights, right? But it's only giving him extra attack potential because it's attack power and crit chance. But he's going to be like a full additional character, and then I imagine the rest dodge, and then you just want him to stack as quickly as possible. But again, I kind of expected him to be one of the lower tier ones, and that seems to be the case. So Dark Mask King, this is another one that I had high hopes for. They've often fumbled units that can heal, so let's see. Raise defense for 1 turn, that's good. I think him and the Black Marseillan had no super attack effects before outside of lowering attack. So raise defense for 1 turn, immense damage, lowers attack and defense. Key 2, attack and defense 150, additional defense 150 for 5 turns after receiving an attack. So I believe not only has his base attack and defense gone up, but the amount of defense he gets, I think it was only 100 for 5 turns before. And he's going to have EZA stats as well now, so that's decent. Attack 50% up to 150 with each attack received. Okay, that's good, because remember, he is healing based on the damage that he does. So building up his attack is good. Additional defense 100% and guards all attacks when there is another hero's ally in the same turn. So yeah, I mean, his restriction wasn't going to get any less because it was just hero's ally in the same turn before. But that's really good because that means he's got 250% defense start of turn and guard with a hero's ally. Then he gets hit and gets an extra 150% defense. So again, I'd have to see what his actual numbers are, but hopefully he's going to fulfill that role of being a unit that you can put in slot 1. Hopefully the first hit isn't a super, right? So he gets hit, gets that big defense buff, then potentially takes another couple of hits, then he supers, heals you back the majority of the damage that he just took, and then you go from there for the turn, right? So he definitely seems like he could be quite good. I wasn't expecting them to go crazy with him, so honestly this is probably better than what I was worried they would do. I thought they would give him the literal bare minimum, which I mean you could say this is, but even with him getting the extra attack power, that's going to be really good for the healing. And then Black Marseillan, Raise attack and defense for 1 turn. Immense damage, lowers attack and defense. Key 3, attack and defense 160 when attacking. Additional attack and defense 120. Additional attack which has a high chance to become a super. High chance to crit when there are 3 or more crossover allies. So they reduced that to... Wait, no, they didn't reduce it. It's another 3. So yeah, that's still the same. That's unfortunate. Performs a crit when facing an enemy whose name includes Goku. Okay, well, great. So that's kind of pointless. Wait, did they actually do anything for him then? Because, I mean, his numbers are up a little bit, but... So he basically gets... Well, with the crossover allies, he has the 120 start of turn. But he's getting most of his stats on super. He does have the high chance to additional, which I think is extra. He had crit chance before. Yeah, it feels like they basically didn't do anything. Like, he's raising attack and defense on super as well. So with the hidden potential factored into the one from his passive as well, he could get 3 supers in 1 turn. So post-super, his defense might be okay. But other than that, all he's really doing, he's going to be chucking out a couple of supers. I'm not sure how high his attack stats will go without seeing calcs. And he's got built-in chance to crit, which is nice. But, I don't know. I mean, he's going to be that unit that you can have the rotation of him and Dark Mask King on a crossover team. But with some of the newer units, like Dark Mask King might make like whatever we consider to be the best heroes team once all the units are out. Dark Mask King might make that team as like a slot 1 unit or a healer or even as a floating healer potentially. But I feel like this guy's just not good enough compared to all the other ones. So that is kind of awkward. Let me see if Minato did post the Toa ones anywhere. Right, I finally managed to find the details for the STR free-to-play Toa. So this is her here, Heroes Leader skill. She's a free-to-play unit, so of course 50%. She'll get her EZA next year and it'll go up to 77%. Her super attack, she greatly raises attack for 1 turn, does supreme damage to the enemy. And then her passive, she gets attack and defense 150. Additional attack and defense 100 when performing a super. Medium chance to dodge as the 2nd or 3rd attacker in the turn. Interesting. All allies attack and defense 20% when there are another 3 or more extreme class allies on the team. Okay. At least she's extreme and not like crossover or heroes, right? Additional attack and defense 50 when performing a super. All allies key +1 and attack and defense 10%. And change AGL to STR orbs when all allies are in the heroes category. So I think so that's in 1 bullet point, right? So all of that is tied into, so she gets extra, so she gets 100% attack and defense when performing a super. She'll get 150% when performing a super if she's on a full heroes team. She gives all allies key 1 and 10%. So she gives key 1 30% support if you have 3 or more extreme allies and they're all heroes. So if you're running her on a team that has only 2 other extreme allies and it's not a full heroes team, then she doesn't actually give any support or orb change. I feel like she's designed this way to help out Fu, right? Because he wants STR orbs, he creates STR orbs, and then so does she. So that could be interesting. And she's going to be a floating support unit, so her having the chance to dodge in slot 2 or 3, I guess, is understandable. It's a shame it's a medium chance. I'm going to assume that they've done that because then when she EZAs next year, it will just go up to high, rather than it being high and then not going up. But yeah, that seems relatively decent, I suppose, for a free-to-play unit without an EZA. She could be useful on the team with Fu. She's obviously going to share links with him, so could be interesting. Let me know what you guys think. So that is all of the data from the data download and all of the EZAs. Some of the EZAs seem like they could be good. Like the ones that I was really hoping would be good were Vegito, Physical Demon Demigra, and Dark Mask King. Because I felt like they would be the most useful, and they do seem to be pretty good from my initial reading of them, but obviously we'll have to see what they're like in the game. I know other people have started doing private server showcases already. I don't do those. I'm not going to watch any of those. I want my initial videos when we pull them to be my first reaction to seeing those units in the game. One thing I did want to ask you guys, and I will make a post on Twitter about this as well, but obviously I'm going to rainbow all the units and link level 10 them straight away. Before I feed in the dupes, like, do you guys want to see, because people have been posting these rainbow like private server showcases, do you want to see 55% showcases for the heroes units, or at least like the main headliners like Rose and Vegito? Let me know if that's something you want to see, or if you want me to just jump straight into Rainbow Link level 10. And if you do want to see them at 55%, do you want to see them 55% Link level 10, or just freshly pulled full Link level 1? let me know in the comment section. So let me know if you guys are excited. It's all starting tomorrow. I am definitely hyped. Hopefully you guys will be there for the live stream. Lots of Heroes related stuff and some big surprises and reveals coming during this week. Some of you already know, but stay tuned. And yeah, so that's going to be it for the video, guys. This has been The Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.